You're listening to Keeping Up with the Knights, a podcast for the faculty and staff at Steele High School, allowing them to connect outside of the classroom. Teacher, coach, mentor, and speaker Michael Herrera, a past District Teacher of the Year, will sit down with fellow teachers and bring their stories to life. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these stories as they unfold on this episode of Keeping Up with the Knights.
Today I had the pleasure of sitting down with Rosa Armijo, a Spanish teacher of the last 14 years here at Steele High School. Rosa and I came to Steele at the same time, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know her over the years. She has a unique story that started in Mexico and landed her first official public education job right here in Cibolo. We're so happy to have her on our staff, and I hope you enjoyed this episode with her. Please welcome my friend Rosa Armijo to episode 11 of Keeping Up with the Knights. All right, welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Knights. I have the pleasure of sitting down with my friend Rosa Armijo. She is a Spanish teacher here on campus, and it's been a little while since we've been trying to get together, but thank you for taking time out of your lunch and your conference period to kind of meet with me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so what I like to do is I like to start every episode by asking my guests 5 shallow-ended questions I call bell ringers, just to kind of get to know each other and give the audience a chance to get to know us outside of education. So let me start by asking you my first question. Question number 1, if you can go back in time and high five yourself for something that you did, what would you go back and high five yourself for?
Coming to the United States.
And when was that?
Oh, that was July 29th, 1996.
All right, very good. Question number 2, if you were not a teacher, what would you be doing?
I would be like a sport person, like a ninja warrior type person.
All right. You like them Spartan races. You would take that to the next level, huh?
Yes, that's my dream.
All right. Question number 3, if you could go, and I know you travel a lot, so if you could go on vacation anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Turkey.
Would it be back to Turkey, or you haven't been there before?
I would go there again, or live there, or retire there.
Very interesting. So I've been to Greece twice, which is really close to Turkey, but never made my way there. So I'll have to look into that.
You definitely need to go.
Question number 4, if you could sit down and have a cup of coffee or a drink at Starbucks with anyone in the world, either dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Jesus.
All right. And I think the answer is pretty obvious.
Yes.
I think I answered the same thing when someone asked me that on a podcast. So we have that in common. Question number 5, and your last question is, what is your go-to hobby?
Sports.
Any
sewing,
sport? Any sport in particular?
Well, you guys got me into running.
All right. Well, yeah. Good deal. Well, those are your 5 questions. So go ahead and shoot your 5 at me. Okay.
After COVID, what are your priorities? How have your priorities changed?
It's always been a part of me, but I think it was definitely heightened during COVID, is to spend more time with family. Mm-hmm. And so what I really enjoyed doing during COVID break, as I call it, which extended from, March all the way through August, is we would take family walks and we would go hiking, and we went almost every single day. So the priorities were definitely to have those moments either in the morning or at evening, just to kind of take a hike and take a walk.
Nature. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice. What does your ideal profession work would look like?
In this profession?
Any profession.
What would my ideal day of work be?
Like something that you really are passionate about. You get up in the morning, you go run if you want to be a runner, or what would your profession, what does your ideal profession work day would look like?
I mean, I love what I do. This to me, some people call this work. and I could almost even stretch it out and say it's kind of like a hobby. Like I love teaching. I love teaching. I love coaching. I can honestly say, of course, not every day is perfect, but I can honestly say that I don't, fight myself to wake up in the morning to come to work. I love what I do. So I don't see this as work, although it is work. But I mean, it's here, it's in the classroom, it's with the kids. And I just really enjoy it. So my ideal day is, coming and doing this line of work of mentoring kids and building relationships and being there for our students.
Nice. I love it. I love that answer. What's your greatest accomplishment up until now?
Greatest accomplishment. Oh man.
You've done a lot of things for the school and the district.
There's so many things. I mean, because like to me, I mean, I don't know. You stumped me here because I've got a lot of things going on in my head. But I'll tell you this, my answer that I'm going to go with is the first thing that popped in my head. And I don't know if this is an accomplishment or more overcoming a fear. And I've said this before, I had an actual fear of not being able to have children. A lot of fears, for those of you that don't know this, I like to say that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Okay. And so it manifests itself into your brain and it becomes true. But one of the fears I had was that I would not be able to have children. And I just made it up on my own and it just kind of grew roots in my brain. And so when my wife and I were, we were married for 10 years, we weren't actively trying to have kids, but we wanted to go travel the world and all this stuff before having kids. But once we made the decision to try and have kids, we were blessed. I'll just leave it at that, to get pregnant twice really quick and just squashed my fears. And that goes back to my faith and my Christianity. But that was a major accomplishment because although it's not a major accomplishment for me, it's an accomplishment in the sense of being able to be a father. So that's what I'll say.
Okay, that's a good one. What memory makes you laugh or bring a smile?
All right. So I always like answering these questions because it's the first thing that comes into mind, right? So I have a really funny story that I won't digress and give the whole story here, but kids will always ask me stuff like that, right? Like, what's your most funny story when you're in high school, whatever? And I always start because I always like to entice my audience. And I said that I was getting chased by the cops. But the funny thing is that I was at a party in high school and the cops showed up and everyone just takes off running. And I'm running in backyards and hopping fences and trying to escape the cops from this high school party. And it's pitch black in this person's backyard. And they had an underground, a ground level pool. And so when I was running, I didn't know there was a pool there. And so when I was running, I felt like one of those cartoon characters when they run in the air and then all of a sudden they fall. And I fell right into the swimming pool. So that was one of my funny moments in high school. But I
would be crying there. Good. What are you good at, but that you're embarrassed to say?
Dance. I love dancing. I think I have a what do you call those? Not a hidden talent, but a like when you really don't tell people that you have like you like something or whatever. Like I like ballroom dancing. I love that dance, and I think that really comes from my my Latin culture because my father is Hispanic. But when I hear Latin music or anything like that, I can't help it but to dance. And so when I'm in my house, no one will ever see this, right? But when I'm in my house with my kids, they love playing Latin music. And so we dance like crazy in our kitchen.
I love dancing too.
But it's one of those hidden things that I have an appreciation for that art.
Nice. I love dancing too.
Yep.
That would be my second profession after a ninja warrior.
Yep. Well, is that your 5?
Yes.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you for participating in Bell Ringers. All right. So we've known each other for a little while, but some of the teachers that are brand new on campus or even teachers that have been here for a while don't know you. So if you can, let's just start by talking about your childhood, where you grew up, and what your childhood life was like.
Okay. I was born in Mexico City. I come from a poor family. We were limited in pretty much anything. There's 4 of us. Well, my dad, my mom, and 4 of us. I'm the baby of the family. And as growing up in Mexico in a poor community, you struggle to accomplish a lot of things. So um, I don't know. I had to work hard back then when I was going to school. The teachers, it was normal for the teachers to hit you with the ruler or with plastic, or throw the eraser. Um, but I like going to school, having friends. I had several different elementary schools that I attended, and then middle school. Well, school is different there. You go from 1 through 6, and then 1 through 3rd grade, and then that's it. So, um, what can I tell you? I like going to school. I uh, I like learning. I enjoyed playing with my friends and learning. For some reason, I liked math when I was little. And when I went to high school, I liked biology a lot. So um, I don't know what else to say.
So, growing up in Mexico City, what would you say the biggest difference, growing up there as a child is compared to growing up as a child here, and maybe even in our communities, Cibolo and Shirts?
Oh, Lord, everything is different. Um, Over there, school starts at 7 in the morning and ends at 1. And I would go to the school that I would go to. I would have to take a bus, and when I was little, my mom would take me. It was about an hour on the bus to go to school, and then I would get out of school. My mom picked me up and take me home. And when I was about, I don't know, I was in 5th grade, I believe. I was on my own now. I would take the bus and take 2 different routes to get home and walk. So totally different. We didn't have school buses.
Mhm.
They don't feed you. Um, they didn't even have pencils. So you were literally on your own, and you have to wear uniform. I really like that
Uh-huh.
because, in my opinion, you don't see a lot of difference between the rich and the poor when you have to wear uniforms,
Yep.
because we all look the same. I mean, I I don't ever remember getting new clothes, because I was the youngest, so I would get my sisters
Yep. Yep.
clothes. But uniforms, we always had a uniform at the beginning of the year, and that was it. A pair of shoes, socks, and your uniform, and that was good for me. It was totally different than here.
Yeah, definitely grew up as a kid as well. Growing up in Catholic school, we had to wear uniforms as well, and I do remember that. And then it wasn't until I went to high school, public school, where everybody got to wear, and have a little bit of independency. But speaking of independency, catching 2 buses and having to walk, I'm sure kids there, and I'm going to make an assumption here, maybe gravitate towards having a little sense of independency earlier than maybe kids do here because of that.
You have to
And
mature a lot.
responsibility too. Yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
yes.
So you went to school there, and then you came over to the States, and did you go to college here?
I went to college there.
Okay.
I got because I was the youngest one, and I don't remember getting new clothes. I don't know, I was 4th grade. I would steal some of my mom's fabric, and I would start sewing stuff for my dolls. I had 2 dolls. So once I graduated from what is equivalent here, middle school, you graduate at 15, and that's it. I went to a fashion designing school so that I could make my own clothing. Um, and it took me 3 years. After I graduated, I started teaching at 19 years old. I taught fashion designing class. And then while I was working and teaching, I also studied interior designing. Um, so I would go to work in the morning from 7 till like 11, 12. Then from there, I would commute to Mexico City, for about an hour and 45 minutes to go to school. From my school, I believe it started at 2 and ended at 10, 8 or 10. So I would have to take the bus, the subway, and then walk home and do that for 3 years.
Well,
So I
that's why I love
graduated.
doing these podcasts, because you get to know little things about people. I never knew that you did interior design and fashion design. So that's awesome.
I did. I did. I was very interested in interior design after graduated from fashion designing. And I thought maybe I can get a good job in the city and do interior designing. And I really loved it. A lot of time consuming classes like creating or designing a house.
Right.
That's hours and hours, but I loved it. I totally loved it. So after I graduated, um, I came to the United States because I wanted to learn English and I wanted to go back to Mexico. I asked for a sabbatical year at the school that I was working at. Um, and they gave me permission. So I came here. I didn't know any English whatsoever. I didn't know how to cross the streets, that you have to press the button so that the light turns red and you can cross the street. So it was it was a shocking.
And that was in 96?
That was in 1996, yes.
And so where did you move to here?
I came to San Antonio because of what my older sister lived here in San Antonio. So I attended San Antonio College to learn the basics. And then I attended a Jew school that offer free English classes. And I also attended community place that offer free classes. So I learned the ABCs and the numbers and everything that I had to learn. It took me about 3 years. And then during that time, I got married and I moved to, well, obviously I didn't go back to Mexico.
Yeah.
But I moved to Waco. I lived in Waco for about a year. I was going to school there, but then things didn't work out. So I came back to San Antonio. After 3 years, I did my GED at San Antonio College. And I wanted to start teaching, but nothing that I got from Mexico was accepted here. So I had to start again. So it took me 10 years to get my degree for Spanish. And then I started teaching.
10 years.
10 years. Well, I had 3 years for learning English, and then GED, UTSA plus the certification. That was 10 years.
Okay. And so then once you got your teaching certification, did you start teaching right away there in Waco, or did you come here?
No, that here in San Antonio. In Waco, I was there just for 1 year.
Okay. Okay.
So I got my my GED from San Antonio College, and then my degree from UTSA. And I did my student teaching at Clemens High School. And while the school was being built, I was sure that I wanted to work here because I would drive by here. They were building it, and I asked God, I want to work there. I want to work there. So I went to Clemens. I did my student teaching, and I got hired here at Steele. We came at the same time, 15 years ago.
So that's what I was going to ask you is, so when you did your student teaching at Clemens, Steele has been the only place that you've officially worked as a teacher. Is that correct? In terms of public education in the States, teaching Spanish.
Kind of, because I did a lot of things. I did all the things that I could here in the United States. So I was a nanny, I was a maid, I was a Montessori teacher at Bernie. Okay. I think it's the same school that Mr. Chiefs worked at.
Okay.
So I worked for the USAA in the infants the kindergarten. So I was a kindergarten teacher, a toddlers teacher.
Okay.
So I did a little bit of things here and there before as I was officially hired here as a teacher.
Okay. So were you here the first year Steele opened or the second year?
The second year.
Okay. So we did come in together. So this is your
Yes.
the start of your 15th year.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, very good. Well, let me ask you this question. So now you're here, and I'll just give you a general question here, and you take it and answer it however you want to. But I'm always curious to know, and I like to hear what teachers have to say about why you teach. So why do you teach?
I like my students. I don't see myself doing any other profession. I think I steal their energy. I learn from them. And for me, when it comes to languages, many of them have family members that speak Spanish grandmas, and they cannot talk to them. So when they come here and they tell me, hey, I told my abuelita this, and that just melts my heart. I love inspiring students to explore beyond just this culture, just the United States, and learn from other countries and other languages and other traditions. So that's what I like.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, you know, you like to inspire, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but I love being inspired by the kids. And
that too.
And it goes both ways. So we get inspired because we get to teach and we love this profession and we get to educate kids on our various content levels. But those moments that students lift us up and they give us that sense of appreciation that we love this job and we're happy to be here. And the very intuitive kids that can pick up on our passion, they make it so much better, you know, and they inspire me to continue and to come back to work. Although I love this place, we have our days and we have our moments, and amongst a pandemic, you know, this is not easy for any of us. And so certainly right now when we can, you know, have these relationships with kids and they lift us up and they empower us and they motivate us and inspire us to be better versions of ourselves in the classroom, those are those moments that we chase as well. What's your definition of success in the classroom? So how do you know that you're successful as an educator, as a teacher, and as a mentor for kids?
I feel that I'm successful when they want to come to my classroom, when they want to be here in my class, and they tell me that they're learning and they can communicate with their family members. For me, that's success, because my mom doesn't speak English. Well, she does, but just a little. But she always wants to speak with my nephew. And when they talk, even simple words, my mom is just like, wow, I'm so happy. So I want to do that. I want to create that connection between my students and their grandparents or family members. So that's success for me. And that they want to be in my classroom. For me, that's success.
So let me ask you a question. So how do you know that kids want to be in your classroom?
It's just their attitude. They smile. They tell me. They come in and tell me what's going on with them. They feel confident and happy to be here.
Yeah, I think you said it just right there. They feel confident, because you can take any of these high school kids who are, you know, sometimes they're shy and they're not willing to express their feelings or even, you know, tell you verbally, or whether, you know, sometimes they want to be able to do text messages and send emails and whatnot. But anytime a kid is able to tell you their feelings, obviously you as a teacher have built that trust and that foundation with those kids to open the floor and open the door for them to actually tell you. And that's where that relationship lies, right? In that trust. In your career as a student, who is a teacher that you will always remember, and what about them made them so special?
My 5th grade teacher, his name was Francisco Campos Lozano, I believe. He was a very serious teacher. He cared about us, but it was not like he would tell us, I love you, or give us a hug. because I remember him slapping my hands with a ruler. He was tough, but he cared about us, and he would tell us, "You're doing a good job," um, and just made us feel loved. I remember he had, I don't know why or how I remember this, but obviously we're in a very poor community. So he had like the tags that you put on the cows,
Mm-hmm.
the numbers, the plastic,
Yep.
and he would give us a surprise. I guess he didn't have anything else to give us a surprise. Um, and I think I got one time. And I was so happy that I don't know, he took it from a cow. I don't know, but he gave us one. And that was priceless.
You said that, you don't know why you remember those things, but the things that we remember just blow my mind, because when you said that, it made me think of when I was in school. It must have been, golly, maybe sixth or seventh grade. And I don't know if you know this or not, but Miss Shires was actually my eighth grade teacher.
Oh wow.
Yeah, here on campus. And, it was probably one of these school initiatives or programs to boost morale or something like that. I think it was called the Bionic Club or something like that. And I don't know. I have to ask her about this, but whether it was acts of service or kindness or whatever, I'm sure the teachers were giving out these little tiny orange buttons, and it said Bionic on there or something like that. And I was just waiting for the day for me to get one. And so when I got that little button, man, I felt so proud of it. A little tiny button is worthless, right? But it's just the idea that someone validated something that you did and recognized, some aspect of being a student. But definitely reminds us to praise our kids, right? Positive reinforcement, and let kids know that they're doing a good job. All right, so you've been a teacher here now for 15 years, and to save the privacy of a student, I would like for you to share maybe a pivotal moment in your educational career that you'll never forget. It doesn't have to include a student. It could actually include a teacher, but just for sake of privacy, just kind of in your mind, think of something that you have done or an impact that that you have had on a kid, that gave a sense of meaning to our profession, that it's more than just the content that we teach.
Wow. Um, I don't know that many students come to mind, but for me as a teacher, I can say I had a student about 8 years ago, and she was legally blind, and she was very shy, but she was an amazing girl. And she didn't talk to me a lot, but and for those students you have to do special things, right? So
Right.
it's not a regular, it takes a lot more time, but it was totally worth doing anything that she would need in order to do things. She graduated. She went to the school for blind, I believe, and then she got her degree to teach Spanish for blind kids.
Oh, wow.
Her mom, I found her mom at HEB, and she told me, and I was almost crying at HEB, like I cannot believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was very special, to know that I was able to influence her, and I guess she liked I know she liked the language,
Hmm.
and I don't even know how you would be teaching the students that are blind in Spanish. I
Yeah.
have no clue, but
Yeah.
she's amazing.
That is awesome. What a great story. That's the kind of story that we want to hear. So that's awesome. All right. So what do you think makes a teacher amazing?
Relationships and connections with the students, just
Okay. And
listening to them.
how do you do that in your classroom?
Well, I don't know.
So for
Uh,
example, let me elaborate on the question here. Is there anything specific that you do in your classroom that allows you to build relationships and make those connections to kids?
well, hmm. I don't know. I just think that making them feel comfortable and feel that they can open up and talk to me. That's what I try to do in my classroom. It's funny because it's like I have two personalities. In Spanish, I am very funny, but in English, I'm not very good at speaking English, so I'm not as funny as I would like to be. I try to, but I think I look like a clown. I don't know. But talking to them and getting close to them and telling them, hey, you don't look happy today. Is everything right at home? And if they don't want to talk, that just give them candy and let them be. If they feel like talking to me, I will just listen to them. And if I had students that come and they pull me out of the classroom because they want to tell me something that happened or a crisis that is going on, then I give them the time, I listen to them, and I give them the best advice I can.
Right. Genuineness and being authentic to yourself, right? Because the way that you can respond and act and show, caring and kindness to the kids, if I do the same thing that you do, it's got to be authentic. I think the kids are picking up on your authenticity when it comes to listening, and they feel confident that they can come and tell you anything. So it's kind of like, you're their mom on campus, and they want to come tell you all their scoop and their story, but ultimately it's just because they want to be heard. They just want to have someone that'll
Yes,
listen to them
yes,
talk.
I do.
That's good. So let me ask you a question. Do you think in education that relationships should be at the center of teaching?
Definitely.
If so, why do you think there are some teachers that don't believe so?
Uh, Maybe they are teachers that are centered on the traditional teaching, um, and perhaps a little bit close-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say they're traditional teachers, but the grade, I mean, it's a number. It's a
Yeah.
number, and they know that they need to get a good number in order to graduate. It's all about a number. It has to be 70 or better. But besides that number, what they're going to take with them is the memories they created here at the school.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And it's about the experiences that we give them. I tell my kids in healthcare, because I teach all the medical classes, well, not all of them, but I teach medical classes here. And I remind my students that not all doctors made 100 to become a physician.
Mhm.
Whatever that test is that they take at the end to become a physician, whether it be an 80 or something like that, you'll have physicians that scored an 80 and you'll have physicians that scored 100. But let's talk about electricians and plumbers who are very, very good at their job.
Mhm.
They may or may not have been the best student. They could have been, but they may not have been, but they're very good at their craft. And you're right. We should not be chasing numbers. We should be chasing experiences, giving kids memories, giving them the ability to relate to this world outside of school.
Yes, definitely.
Because when they graduate here, I don't know what the percentage is, but they're not going to carry with them 100% of what they learned these 4 years in high school.
I
It's
don't.
minuscule compared to what they've learned over 4 years. Now they're going to learn, they're going to absorb, and they're going to forget. Some stuff they'll be able to, regurgitate and say, just like teaching a foreign language.
Mhm.
I'm half Hispanic and half Greek. Grew up not speaking Spanish fluently by no means, but my father would try to get us to speak Spanish, especially with my grandparents. My parents got divorced, and I took honors Spanish. I think it was honors AP at the time, dual credit, whatever it was. And it was very difficult. Miss Cardwell was my teacher. And I knew it then, and I could probably speak pretty well then, but you lose it, and
Yes,
so,
you
so what exactly are we doing in education besides chasing numbers? I mean, there's got to be more to this. And you're right. And that's why I asked you the question. It's about those relationships. It's about our students coming back 20, 30 years and saying, remember when my teacher gave me that little cow, number or whatever, like,
Well, that was amazing.
but for you, it might be the piece of candy that you gave them and let them be for that day because they were having a bad day. We oftentimes we do things in our classrooms for students that go unacknowledged with kids because they're teenagers and they don't know how to maybe talk about their emotions and how we make them feel until they're a little older, until they leave these halls. And they grow up and they mature and they come back and say thank you. And that's when we realize what we do in the classroom matters. And then those tiny little things that we do that is authentic to us that impacts kids. So never underestimate the power of positive reinforcement and praise to our kids. Well, let's wrap things up. What I'd like to do is ask you one more question. If you've watched or listened to any of my episodes, I always like to end my podcast by asking you to thank a teacher on campus, somebody that has had an impact on you. They've gone out of their way to help you, just somebody on campus that you would like to thank and why.
Well, I have to thank two. One is not here.
You got to do one.
And one is here. Punishment.
Okay.
She is next to me. Ever since I became a department lead, she told me I will support you. I loved that if I did something wrong as a department lead, because I learned I messed up so many times, and she would tell me, no, Rosa, just don't, that's not the right way, or that's not the right approach. She would just tell me straight on my face, no, that's not gonna work. I love that because she was honest and she supported me all the way, and we learned together. And she's like my mom and my sister at the same time, and I love her to pieces. And Jose Barrera, he left, but he was my brother from another mother that would just tell me right on my face, yes, this is right, or no, you're screwing up, don't do it like that. So they are my biggest supporters.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. So I hope they'll have a chance to listen to this, but shout out to you guys for being amazing supporters and being in Miss Armijo's corner. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time out. Looks like the bell's going to be ringing here shortly. So we're kind of wrapping things up just in the nick of time, but thank you for sitting down and kind of sharing your story. And hopefully our audience that listens will get a chance to know you a little bit more outside the classroom. So thank you for being on this episode.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Oh, you bet. You have a wonderful day and stay blessed.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Keeping Up with the Knights. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure you subscribe and click the notification button so you know when the next episode is released, and then share it with your friends and colleagues. If you're so inclined to do so, would you please rate and review this podcast to help me grow our community of listeners? I hope there was something that you heard today that allowed you to connect outside the classroom. Now, more than ever, we need each other as a support system, and we need to continue to make this the best high school in the state of Texas. Thank you, Knight Nation. Now, go be someone's champion today.